Driving my truck home on a cold February night in West Texas, after 18 hours on a construction site, the last thing I wanted was a flat tire. The highway was a two-lane rumor, the sky inked in hard. When the tire thumped and dragged, I eased onto the shoulder, hazards ticking at the mesquite. I left the engine idling for heat and told myself this was 10 minutes of cold and cussing, nothing more. As I cracked the door and started to climb down from the cab, the smell hit, bright, metallic ozone, like a snapped wire. The low hum I'd noticed became a single, low-pitched note, winding tighter and louder, coming closer until it found the truck and set the frame buzzing. The vibration rode the door frames and floorboard into my bones. My watch shivered against my wrist. At its crest, the buzz locked into a steady shake. The whole truck, trembling like whatever it was, had settled right on top of me. Everything in me went still. Deer in the headlights still. Rabbit under sage still. I froze and let only my eyes move, sweeping the sky and the fence line, hunting the source of that climbing sound. The part of me that measures things said stay still. The older part lit the fuse to run. My heart thumped hard enough to hear it. I reached back toward the cab, tried to pull the door in and make myself smaller. The instant I moved, the engine coughed. The dash blinked. The headlights flattened the mesquite into paper cutouts. Then everything went dark. No engine, no lights. Just me, the hum, and the truck trembling under hard stars. With the door closed, the hum muffled a notch, but the trembling stayed. I leaned forward to peek out from the safety of the cab, chin resting on the steering wheel. At first, there was nothing to see, just a sense of weight where there shouldn't be any. Then the sky made a mistake. Stars blinked out along a line, 3 at a time, like someone dragging an eraser in a slow triangle. A shape slid out of that absence, flat and black as wet slate, edges so clean they ate the starlight. 3 dull amber points marked its corners. They didn't blink. No red, no green, no white, no running lights at all. It moved crosswind without banking. It stopped without arriving. It turned in place the way a drawing turns when you rotate the paper. A pale skin of light crawled the underside like frost finding a window. The turbines out on the ridge hesitated between ticks. The air pressed flat, polite as a hand on a shoulder. I checked my watch because that's what I do when I don't know what I'm looking at. 2:13. The hum lightened a hair, and the triangle slipped along the seam of 2 thin clouds. Slid, paused, slid again in a way that didn't spend any motion, and then skimmed over the low hills and out of sight. The hum was gone. I looked at my watch again, and the second hand hadn't moved. I tapped the crystal once, twice, nothing. As if on cue, my phone in my right pocket buzzed twice like it wanted to help, and I realized I could have recorded the whole thing. Too late. I pulled my phone from my pocket. It ticked along the seconds as if nothing wrong had just chosen our stretch of sky. Bars flickered in and out. I told myself, Marcus, you don't believe in UFOs. Marcus, you know they're not real, right? I kept the patter going as I slid on my hard hat like I'd just shown up to inspect a site. Then I slid out, stayed low like I was under fire, kept to the truck's shadow, and worked my way around to the rear passenger door. Every few steps I stopped to listen, eyes sweeping the sky and the fence line. I set my boots soft on the gravel, eggshell careful, so the stones wouldn't talk. I opened the rear passenger door, flipped the seat forward, and pulled the factory jack, the crank, the lug wrench, and a small flashlight from the compartment behind it, each piece louder than I wanted in the cold. I started back toward the flat and realized I'd left the passenger door open. The wind remembered its job all at once and slammed it shut. It startled me. I froze again, only my eyes moving as I scanned the dark. After a few slow breaths to tuck my limbic brain down and get its grudging all clear, I aimed the flashlight at the rear tire, and there it was, a nail smiling from the tread. With the flashlight clenched between my teeth, I wound the jack until the wheels sighed clear. The nuts spun easy, like they wanted to help, and I almost laughed. The world had made room for one thing not to make sense. Everything else rushed in to be normal. I muscled the spare up, hung it on the studs, spun the lugs, and snugged them in a star. My breath turned the beam of my flashlight into a slow ghost. I told myself, no more ghosts tonight. I was ready to go home. That's what I thought. I climbed back into the truck and thumbed the starter. The dash bloomed a soft green like a bar sign. The clock flashed 2:13, then died. No crank, just a single click from the relay, needles sinking to zero and the dome light giving up. The battery was out of juice. I texted my wife that I wouldn't make it home. Battery's dead. It took 2 calls to reach Mike from the site. He owed me a favor. He said he'd bring cables. He was about an hour out. To kill time, I sat in the cab scrolling my phone, looking for any local chatter about a UFO sighting out here. Nothing. Headlights finally crested the rise. Mike's truck. I flagged him with a sweep of the flashlight. Hoods up, clamps on. We jumped the battery because that's what you do when engines refuse to start. You hit a deer, he asked. Something like that, I said. He didn't press. I didn't volunteer. The engine caught, the dash steadied, and we started back toward the site. I'm Marcus Thompson, civil engineer out of the University of Cincinnati, 36, Ohio-born, Cincinnati Reds fan. 3 years in Odessa with my family. Construction manager for Westfield Drilling. I trust math and the shop-worn wisdom of engineers who've watched things fail. Stories don't move me. Numbers do. That's who came back through the gate that night, trying to make sense of something numbers hadn't written. Gravel hissed under the tires as we eased in. The sodium lights over the trailers buzzed a tired yellow. Mike dipped his highs and pointed me toward the generator shack like it was a hospital room. Inside smelled like trade school, warm dust, coil varnish, a little metal with something brighter under it, that new battery tang I didn't have a word for. We leaned over the panel, the alarm history stacked neat lines. UPS on battery at 2:13 a.m., frequency dip. I checked my phone, 4:32 a.m. My watch still said 2:13 and pretended not to hear me when I tapped it. We had a hiccup on the ridge too, Mike said. Turbines stalled a beat and came back. Manny called it in, scared the raccoons off the dumpster. Whole place went church quiet. We walked the fence line with our lights down. The south gate badge reader blinked red, thought better of it, and settled on green. The camera over the laydown yard reset and flashed its own time 2:13 before catching up like it had tripped and decided to run. I thought about heading home, checked my phone, 5:06 a.m., and parked by the trailers instead. Better to wait for first light. If there was a story here, the meters and logs would tell it. Dawn bleached the yard from charcoal to scrap paper gray. Rebar took the first pink. Spools of cable and pipe on cribbing came back into focus, like they'd only been hiding. Mike rolled in with a battered thermos and poured coffee into the lid. You look like you slept in the truck, he said. I didn't bother lying. The steam smelled like burnt toast and comfort. We walked the rows with our lights off, letting the morning do its job. The badge reader was steady green now. The forklift charger that had been ticking sat quiet and smug, LEDs behaving. Inside the trailer, the UPS said, online, no alarms. The history still had its little picket fence at 2:13 a.m., battery dip, then a clean run after. Could have been a grid burp, Mike said. Cold load somewhere. Somebody flipped the wrong thing. He wanted an ordinary story. I couldn't blame him. I checked my phone. 7:04 a.m. My watch still said 2:13. Stubborn as a mule. Mike eyed it. That's your old man's? He tapped the crystal with a knuckle. Battery, he said. I nodded like that explained it and wrote the times down anyway. That bright metal tang was faint now, but it was there at the back of the throat if you went looking. We put the yard back like it had never blinked. The checklist helped, so did the coffee. Sarah called while we coiled leads. I gave her the short version, dead battery, Mike's jump, a power hiccup at the site. She asked if I was okay. I said I was and promised I'd head home as soon as we wrapped so I wouldn't miss our daughter's 6th birthday party this afternoon. We said the brave, ordinary things and hung up. When we finished, Mike clapped the dust off his gloves. You gonna sleep or go home and pretend you did? Home, I said. He looked at me a second, then handed me what was left in the thermos. Take it, he said. Numbers later. I parked in the driveway of the house we've been renting since we moved out here 3 years ago. Inside, Sarah and our 2 girls. I met Sarah at my first job after graduating, Queen City Geotech in Cincinnati. She was the project coordinator who could make inspectors laugh and get permits unstuck. I was the new engineer who thought punch lists were poetry if you wrote them right. We met over a clogged folder and a coffee spill that took the shape of Ohio on a blueprint. I asked her out the day the I-71 ramp opened on time. She said yes because I brought a torque wrench to a paper problem and smiled like I meant it. That was 8 years ago. Back home in Odessa, I slid a roll of drawings and a clipboard of field notes onto the entry bench. It was Saturday, and the house smelled like pancake mix and tape from balloons. Sarah looked me over like a barn cat reading weather. Shower, then coffee, she said. Guests at 3. How bad? I asked, nodding at the living room. 6-year-old level, she said. So, controlled chaos. The shower brought me partway back to human. When I wound my watch to reset it, the hands stayed on 2:13 like they had an alibi. I left it face down on the dresser and told myself I'd fix it after cake. By noon, the kitchen was a logistics plan. Streamers, folding chairs, the folding table that threatens fingers. Our youngest practiced Happy Birthday on a loop until the dog hid under the table. The doorbell turned into a metronome. Neighbors, preschool friends, 2 cousins from Midland. The studs of the house felt less lonely. Out back, I lit the grill and told myself to be useful. The sky was clean and high, the kind of West Texas blue that makes your eyes water. No hum, no pressure, just wind chimes and somebody's mower a block over. I liked the work. Ohio taught me patience. Odessa taught me fire. Around here, you run mesquite hot for chicken, temper brisket with post oak, chase thin blue smoke, and let the wind off the flats teach you stack control. Last May, we took the girls to basin burnout at the Midland County Horseshoe. 40-odd teams, public samples, a fan favorite vote. The kids got sauce to their wrists. I talked pit temp in the stall with a crew chief and came home with too many ideas. Today wasn't a 12-hour sermon. Today was birthday food, hot dogs and burgers, something I couldn't mess up if I tried. Not 20 minutes into my grill master duties, Sarah slid the patio door open. T-1 minute, she said. Bring the hot dogs and burgers. We circled the dining table. Candles waited like little traffic cones on a cake that looked exactly like a pony if you stood back 6 feet and squinted. Our girl squeezed her eyes shut because that's part of the rules, even if you're not at the blowing out step yet. Presents brought confetti and squeals. I built a dollhouse roof twice because directions written by pranksters are not technically illegal. By late afternoon, the house had the warm wreckage that means successful party. Paper crowns, juice rings, 2 balloons stuck to the ceiling by stubborn static. I carried the trash out and stood in the driveway a second longer than I needed. The wind had that dry, distant sound, like a freeway too far to see. I told myself I was going to be fine. I told myself numbers would make a story I could live with. The kitchen window gave me Sarah's reflection carrying plates, and I went back inside because I wanted to keep what was mine. The girls were towel-drying plates. Sarah was shelving them like she was restocking a small store. She tapped my cheek with the back of her knuckles like she could knock some of the road out of me. "You made it for cleanup. Perfect timing. Next year, I'll aim for setup," I said. How'd she like the bike? Gasped, then negotiated for indoor riding privileges. Presented a legal argument, lost on appeal. She watched me long enough to catch the static I was trying not to broadcast. Long night? Long. I reached for a stack of plates, and the room tilted for half a second the way it does when your brain decides to replay something you didn't ask it to. Mike texted, "You good?" And I texted back, "All good. Later." That bright metal ozone tang from the night before wasn't there. Not really. Unless I went looking for it at the back of my throat. I didn't. "What's wrong?" she asked. "My dad's watch stopped," I said. It sounded small even to me. "Want to take it in?" "Yeah, on Monday." I set the plates in the cabinet like getting one thing right might steady the rest. We stacked the last dry dishes, hung the towels to air, and wiped the counter down. Upstairs, a nightlight cast a small halo on the hallway carpet. Our girls stirred when I whispered a hello and asked, very seriously, if I'd brought any owls with me. I promised to check the truck in the morning. Back in our room, the watch was where I'd left it, face down on the dresser. I turned it over and tried not to make it ceremonial. Sarah leaned in the doorway, arms folded, a tired smile trying to win a fight it couldn't. "You don't have to be the guy who never needs a break," she said. "I'm not," I said, which is exactly what the guy who never needs a break says. We turned out the light. The house remembered how to cool. Sleep gave up early. I padded to the kitchen where the laptop lives and promised myself I was just going to check the weather. 10 minutes later, I was digging through the kind of forum where usernames outnumber facts and somebody's cousin saw a thing that eats electricity. I made myself treat the night like an incident report. Engineer, not believer. Tabs open, timestamps in the margin, wind and grid status dashboards parked beside the rumor mill. I saved posts, grabbed screenshots, and dropped links into a folder named Power Sag because names keep me honest. No conclusions. A Permian Basin thread mentioned a pale pulse over Andrews County at 2:13 a.m. Another link pointed to a trucker's dash cam, still either overprocessed or accidentally perfect. A third was a snippet from a public scanner archive near Crane, time-stamped 2:13 a.m. Anomalous radar return, later edited to possible equipment check. 3 pins aren't proof, so I printed a map, sketched bearings, and wrote approximate next to every point. Andrews to the north, Crane to the south, and me at the third corner. Call it a near triangle. Easy to explain away if you want. At 2:13 a.m., kitchen lights dipped and came back. The microwave beeped once and began blinking 2:13. The oven clock blinked 2:13 twice and then remembered it was night. A fork on the counter trembled in place and then behaved. In the new stillness, the house wasn't quiet. It was counting what I couldn't stop thinking.